Welcome to another episode of last week's Comics Today. I am exhausted this morning, so if I still have the energy at the end of this, there's going to be a rant. But not all of this came out this past week. I didn't sort this into any order, but let's just get into it, and I will note the ones that aren't from last week as we get there. This one did come out. This ends the original arc of Damn Them All. There is an explanation for the mystery that started back in issue 1, and things go really well. It is no longer a 6-issue miniseries, but it is an ongoing, I believe. So we will get more, which is good because plenty of things are set up at the end of this for characters to do going forward, and it's really good. I don't have... Well, I'll say this. Right, given the similarities of two of the main characters to Constantine, I think something that happened was obvious, at least to me. But there is a reason, there's an explanation for it given here, so mystery solved. And I will continue reading to see where things go from here. But this 6-issue arc was enjoyable, and I think the trade is coming out in June, if solicits are accurate. But this is good. I loved issues 1 and 2 of Immortal Sergeant. 3 is no exception. This is probably going to be my pick of the week, but I will wait till the end. I do want to show one out of context thing, because I had randomly flipped to this before I read the issue, and so there's this guy who is the title Immortal Sergeant. He is retiring, and this is his son that showed up last issue, but I had randomly landed on this page, and it's just so fun. It's so weird, and there's a surprising amount of family drama, and it's hilarious. Maybe unintentionally hilarious, because it's, I guess, skewing dark comedy. But the other thing I want to mention is there's a little bit of art at the end of this, where they show off some of the preliminary sketches, and one of these notes... Oh yes, so this one here is talked about how the main character and the car share a similar design style, which I had not noticed, but now I can't unsee it. It's phenomenal. The investigation continues. All of the family stuff is amazing. The father-son stuff, I love everything about this book. Highest possible recommendation, Immortal Sergeant. This is one of the books that did not come out this week. I think it came out in February. I was walking around the shop. I saw this. I had to pick it up, and then once I did, art's great. So I'm like, alright, I will buy this. I'm going to see what it's about. If you can't tell, these are Nazis versus Undead. I just read something similar from DC with Sergeant Rock, but this is a 4-issue series. I did some minor Googling. I think the next issue is coming out early April. It's well written. Art's great. I'm intrigued. It's, as I said, Nazis, Undead. There's some Viking stuff going on. I don't know if you can tell just based on the font there, but look at this at the back. I mean, look at that. And then this guy shows up at the end. I'm in. I want to know more. Dead Romans #1 did come out this week. I don't remember how many issues this is supposed to be. I will, for the moment, assume 6. But there were preview pages for this a while back. It is these first few pages. So here's a sense of the art, which is just gorgeous. This is beautiful. But there are Romans in what is modern-day Germany. There's a mystery. There's some missing people. There's an ambush. There is confusion between, who's doing the attacking and why. And I will be adding this to my pull list. I loved it. I think For the moment, I am as confused as the characters, and I need to read it again just to make sure that I understand what's happening. But it's phenomenal. And as I said, the art is just outstanding. So Dead Romans, highly recommended. World's Finest, issue 13. This is a series that I've bought at least 12 of, and yet still haven't added to my pull list. But as long as Wade and Mora are on it, then I'm interested. The first arc, I think, I really like his depiction of Batman and Superman together. Also, Robin, Supergirl, and there's a little bit of Batgirl in the beginning of this. She looks outstanding. I mean, all Dan Mora art, really, but I love this design for Supergirl. I would love just a Supergirl story written by Wade, because he writes her, she's smarmy. Like, she's smart and she doesn't take any shit. And it's just outstanding. And then everything Dan Mora draws, I just absolutely love. So anyway, this arc is focused on Metamorpho. There's a murder. There's an investigation. I wish there are things I wish I could show, but it would be spoilers. Next issue, I promise. But this is incredibly well done. This might be the best arc. It's only one issue in, but this might be, it's setting up to be the best arc thus far. It's really good. DCeased, War of the Undead Gods, issue 7. So there's only one issue left. Major things needed to happen in order to get this story, which was just issues of devastation, to a place where things could be resolved next issue, and I think they now are. However, there is a big bad that thus far, if memory serves, has only a name. We haven't actually seen it / them. So still, there's a lot of road to travel before this ends. This cover is a bit of a lie. I think he shows up in 3 panels total, and she's in 2. So this doesn't actually happen. But I would still like a figure of her. She's awesome and a great design. Todd, please get on it. So we start with Lobo. And there are things that I wish I could spoil in this. This was a preview page that was released, so I don't think I'm spoiling anything yet. But yikes, look at that. Yeesh. And there's something from last issue that I do want to spoil, so give me just a moment. I don't think you can tell, but there is the slight hint of a mustache there. That is because the Spectre is now Alfred, or Alfred is now the Spectre. It's crazy. It's crazy the things this series is doing, has done. Cassie, I'd still like a figure of her. This design for Damian Batman is amazing. I would take one of him. I really hope Todd does figures based on the series at some point. Out of context, Lobo loses a hand. There are things that I'll spoil next issue that happen here that I won't talk about yet, but it's surprising, it's amazing. I, once again, really enjoy this title. This, I believe, came out 2 weeks ago. This is the Image Anthology year-long. This is issue 11. I don't know if that's written on here somewhere. But I got this mainly for the John Layman story, In Hell We Fight. I did look at Ghostmakers. I think this is an upcoming series as well. I got curious about it. And NYC Mech, I started to read, and the first page was just full of words, and it was too late for me to go that deep into it. So I want to read NYC Mech and check out this Slacktacular now, which I haven't gotten to yet. But In Hell We Fight was the reason I grabbed this, and it is weird. But there's a group of people who are in hell, and I mean, that bubble explains everything. There's an alien spaceship that crash landed in hell, and then shit happens, and this kid has an axe in his head. So it's weird. Art is by Jock, but a different Jock than the usual. Definitely a cartoony style. There's weirdness. It is a tiny bit like shit, I'm not gonna remember the name. Anyway, Image has been at this for 11 months, and they still haven't figured out page numbers, even though they put page numbers here. So they haven't improved their anthology design, and I think they should have by now. They should have learned their lesson. But I generally don't recommend this anthology series. I'm just not that interested in whatever Jeff Johns thing is going on. Gehenna, I hope gets recollected because that's related to Frontiersman and Antioch, but I'm not going to grab 12 issues of this for just that. Mixed bag, as always, with anthology stuff. I'm going to save this one for last, and we're going to talk first about Swamp Thing Green Hell. This is the end of the series. It's taken over a year to get 3 issues, but I don't care because they're well done, and I may be alone in this, but I will wait for creators to finish what they started rather than take fill-in artists. That's my personal opinion. But we have Old Man Constantine. We have a Swamp Thing that is, I don't know if you can tell, he's quite thin. It's not just artistic design choice. He is incredibly thin at the moment. He's sort of cut off from his power. Constantine is trying to recruit Animal Woman, you can see there. So this is a continuation. I think I mentioned this in the last video. It's a continuation, it's a conclusion really, to what Lemire and Snyder had started at the beginning of New 52 with the Swamp Thing and Animal Man, and it's really well done. One thing that had been, I think, set up does come to fruition here, and I don't know. It's another one of those things that I saw coming, and I think if you just have a basic understanding of how stories work, you could have seen it coming too, but it's still really nice to see and enjoyable, and just because you can predict something doesn't mean it's spoiled. It's still nice to see when it happens. So this, I imagine, is getting collected pretty soon, and I recommend Swamp Thing Green Hell as well. So, by process of elimination, this is the one that I am maybe going to rant about. I think it's going to be filled with tangents. Before I'd finished reading this, I definitely intended to rant about it, but then I got to the end, I finished off the story, and I don't know really what I'm going to say now, but we need to talk about this cover, because I looked at this cover for quite a long time. Dan wanted to mention it as well. Just at a glance, it looks like this sword is already in Roz's chest. However, the more you look at it, you see that this sword is actually broken. But I want to talk about what led to this and what's going to happen immediately after. So, if you look, Batman has 2 swords. Roz has just the one, unless the other one has been lost in the snow somewhere. But already, Batman had a 2-to-1 advantage over Roz, and yet he's the one on his back. And I don't know what either of these swords are doing. So how did he get into this position? This hand isn't really doing anything at all. It didn't stop this arm from not quite choking him out. And I don't know where this sword was going, unless he was going to cut off his head. But clearly that sword broke, and then really all he has to do at this point is tilt his wrist slightly and just jab it right into his neck. This sword could just slice at least, but I don't know, possibly chop his arm off. Like, Batman is definitely in a poor situation here, and yet in the next seconds he could end this fight instantly. It's very strange. So it looks like poor planning on Batman's part, but it might actually have been manipulation to get to this point if he wanted to go that route of just stabbing Roz in the face. Okay, so the story itself, this whole one bad day thing, and it's really one bad day for Damian it's kind of a lifetime of bad days for Roz. But we get a little bit of history. We find out in here, I don't know if it's been previously established, how old Roz is. I don't pay that much attention, but in here he talks a couple of times about being 700 years old. And obviously there's Lazarus Pits. The thing about Roz is, I don't know if you saw the live-action Shang-Chi movie, but they basically stole Ra's al Ghul for Shang-Chi's dad. And the complaint I had about that is, I mean, besides the obvious, is that his dad was completely ineffectual. And Ra's, 700 years old, what has he actually accomplished in a time? He has a literal League of Assassins, and he's done fuck all. Unless what DC is trying to say is that our world would actually be worse off if Ra's weren't in it. I don't know. But he's accomplished absolutely nothing in 700 years. And there's a scene, I think, here that illustrates things pretty well. So there is this yacht, right? And there's a couple of rich dudes, and there's this nonsensical scene about these two guys running up to this old guy, and he says, "You're in my sun," even though they're literally not, because the sun's right there, and based on angles, he's neither one of them are in his sun. It makes no sense. But Roz shows up in this airship, and for some reason waited until literally the last moment to give any instructions to his foot soldiers. Like, this is just poor writing and poor art, I think, but it's a combination of just poor planning on everyone's part. But anyway, some ninjas, I guess, jump onto a yacht, and then he tells his League of Assassins not to kill, but incapacitate. I'm like, what are you doing? Why do you have these people at all? Anyway, Roz does something stupid, and Batman takes notice. Batman, I've mentioned before, makes no sense to me if you look at him as a whole, and only, I think, should be viewed in the context of whatever story he happens to currently be in. Here he is operating globally, whereas otherwise he's off in space or only focused on Gotham. But here he's casting a very wide net. He figures out Roz has been killing people. There's a pattern. This is where I think someone like Oracle should come into play instead of Batman flying solo. But whatever. So Batman figures out what Roz is doing. There's this nice scene. It's minimal. It's, I think, literally just those 2 pages. But it's nice whenever Bruce has an acquaintance, I guess, because I wouldn't call her a friend, but anyone outside of the normal superhero community. He has this acquaintance, and then he shows up randomly. He doesn't know her super well, but they're in a similar situation, and he's there for maybe 3 minutes before he's like, I gotta go. Maybe that's why he doesn't have friends. So anyway, Roz is killing people that are destroying the planet, and really, I think Poison Ivy and he should show up. I don't know if that's ever happened, but they seem to have similar goals, desires, and if that hasn't already been done, I think it should be. I think they should work together more often, at least once. But Batman figures out what Roz is doing. Roz kidnaps Damian to have some leverage over Batman when he shows up. There is a fight. Damian here is threatened. Batman gives in. And I read one complaint about this. The threat of death in a story where Lazarus Pits exist. And really, any time Roz is in a story, Lazarus Pits are at play, right? But just the world in general possesses Lazarus Pits, and so you wind up with moments like this. And I don't know, a lot of people watched Heroes Season 1, and I mention this because anytime there's a character that has invulnerability, they're going to be put in situations to show that off. right? So they're going to wind up in situations where they should have died, if only they weren't invulnerable. And so here, Batman clearly gets stabbed. He does wind up dying, but Lazarus Pit. So, of course, he winds up coming back to life. And here, I think, is where my rant really would have taken off, except I kind of like where things end. Because Ra's had been planning this masterful plan for 10 years, is what he says, and he hadn't accounted for Batman. So, he doesn't show that he's very smart. 2, when Batman shows up, he just kills him. Spoilers, brings him back to life a couple of months later after he has executed his plan. So after Ra's has done what he wanted, which I think is pretty brilliant. But really, making a 10-year plan and not accounting for the one guy that is most likely to stop you is kind of an idiot move. Also, if you've been planning this for 10 years, you could have spaced these things out better than you did to make the pattern less obvious. Like, for an old guy, he's still kind of an idiot. But, like my complaint regarding Reed Richards, it's hard writing somebody smart. So, I don't. I think writers just have a hard time writing people that are supposed to be smart. Anyway, this isn't as much of a complaint as I kind of thought it was going to be. I mean, once you kill Batman and then resurrect him after your plan's already over, it's kind of brilliant. But the rest of it is kind of bullshit. So, I don't know. It's a very mixed bag. I don't know. I expected better. I thought I generally like Tom Taylor, but this could have used a rewrite, I think. Alright, so that is everything that I got this week. Pick of the week is undoubtedly going to Immortal Sergeant, but I do want to bring up these two, since it's the start of a new arc, and it's just a heck of a lot of fun, and it's a new issue 1. I hope people check this out. So that is, as I said, everything that I got this week. As always, I get all of my books from a local comic shop. If you don't know where yours is, you can use this URL to find the one closest to you. Thanks for watching.